this, Tony Khan ended up announcing, they were like, hey man, what's up with the television for Ring of Honor? He's in the scrum and he sets up this long-winded answer, and I could already tell that it was like, he don't got no TV deal. Like when I was like listening to him, I was like, no, like he's telling this long, it's like, bro, like if you were getting interrogated and you were like, well, let me tell you, like were you there, did you do it?
It's a long story, bro.
Let me take you through it.
Let's start from the beginning.
That's what Tony Khan did in this press scrum, and not through like the fault of, I would say, Jericho, because obviously he did excellent work.
Yeah.
I think it is fair to question now, like, ROH is going to end up as an honor club. They're going to have some type of New Japan involvement. We kind of mentioned it earlier in the show. But aside from that, they were like, yeah, it's going to be like $9.99. There's a certain amount of hours and footage that's already on it, not the whole library, for what I'm gathering. And there's going to be less ROH presence going forward. I think it's fair to call this, for the amount of television time that was spent on this, the brand equity, like when we heard people, rightly or wrongly, saying, hey man, I don't want to watch this ROH stuff all over AEW, and people like, what's the big deal? It's only 3 letters. It's all the same wrestlers. No, like it's not. Like AEW actually means something to people. Ring of Honor does not. And I think, I understand the play for what he was trying to go for. It just didn't work. As far as like trying to land them, a deal somewhere, and it's an L. Like there's no spin out of this, and don't get it twisted. He tried to spin this one, but I feel like we need to really like look at like the last however many months and be like, was that worth it?
Especially at the expense of people that felt like we see them once a month or whatever else in AEW. And like I don't begrudge the Ring of Honor talent that came over, because like generally speaking, they weren't like except for like some of the stuff with Dalton Castle that I just despise. Like it wasn't like oh my god, they're on my screen and it stinks or whatever else, or it's below the standard. Like I enjoyed, like the Ring of Honor TV stuff with Joe and Joe and Minoru Suzuki, for example, or whatever else, like the Jericho stuff, right? So I don't have much bad to say. It's just that like they made this play and it failed, and like they failed. So we should be able to say, hey, y'all failed at this. And now that this is a failure, now we have to go back and reassess, like, what was the unintended consequences of putting people that like not many people know or are into for that long onto your television at the expense of, people like Darby Allin or Miro or whoever else you want to name from other divisions that were like, they had followings or had like people interested in them or were invested in them to some extent beyond what the Ring of Honor roster had. Does it mean that I want them all completely off? No, because some of the people are valuable. Like you say what you want to about Lethal or whatever else, but like I enjoy what Lethal's on. Lethal normally has very good matches. And I can go on and on. But yeah, that it's a L. It's a L.
Well, I can tell you what I see, like when I see like ROH kind of, I see like no elite wrestling. Like, and it's like completely separate apart from, it's just this weird vibe.
Except for like Jericho.
Yeah. Like, it's just this weird vibe, like, for whatever it is. It's like, bro, I don't care about 2007 Ring of Honor. Like, the fan bases, I think, have turned over a lot. Maybe it's just me, but maybe it's not either, because I've seen the results. But, yeah, man, it's, now as far as going forward with that show, got to wonder what that taping schedule is going to look like. I don't know, but they've got a chance to kind of do something cool with it. They're going to have to make it must see though, because they're putting an entire show behind a paywall, and that's smart because they don't have to worry about like landing a bad deal, and then the rating or the time slot not being up to par, and then you got to kind of deal with that as well. And if you put it on YouTube, I think that's like just admitting failure, even to a further extent. So at least like try to do something with it. But until AEW renegotiates their first deal, I don't know how they were planning to sign a second deal right now. Like, it just seems like it's far out there.
Yeah. Do you think that? And obviously, I heard like was it this week? Rampage. Was Rampage really
awesome.
good this week?
Yes.
What matches were on Rampage?
John
Moxley, the Moxley and Takeshita match.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there was what other match was it?
Phenomenal.
What was the other match?
Orange Cassidy defended against Trent Seven.
That's right. Yeah. That was the main event. Yeah. So, maybe with the pulling back on some of the Ring of Honor stuff, like they'll focus more heavily on
Sheeta and the Bunny too.
That's right, and that match was better than I thought it was going to be. So I think maybe once you pull back on some of the Ring of Honor stuff in the push, if you will, you get focused more on like trying to get Rampage back on point. So yeah, like if the net out of this is like Rampage goes back to what it was the first couple months, then like, oh yes, this was worth it because get this shit out the way, get back to what we were really doing, and like Ring of Honor could be over there, and like they're welcome in certain spots or whatever else, but not like to where like they're like 15, they're like a half hour of the show every single week.
Yeah, it's just a lot, man, and like even like he wants to run it a certain way, like build it up to where some you can do a show like a ROH versus like AEW show, and you got a lot of like cool options you can do.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that if you do it like that, you're pulling basically like the veterans, right? Like who's the guy that's under 35 that you would put in a ROH versus AEW thing?
I think you leave people over there like Joe, like Jay Lethal.
Joe's up there, Lethal's up there.
Anybody that's young that like maybe you can keep Wheeler Yuta over there. I know you put a lot of TV time into him this year, but I mean you gotta like someone could be over there.
I think on the pre-show there was a Kingdom versus Top Flight match that was really good, really good. And like the way that match went, it was like okay, like when Top Flight was around, it was like they're kind of like that team that just needs to get that that win, and then they're on to something or whatever else. And like maybe they could make use of them over there. I wouldn't mind them if they're doing double duty, but like yeah, they could definitely get some mileage out of Top Flight going out there going nuts. So yeah, I don't mind it.
Sam pointed out how I tried to leave the biggest star in the business in ROH.
Yeah, you did do that. That's
funny. So
it's interesting because, like, I guess when we talk about Rampage, I'll like think about the similarity between Takesha's match with Moxley and like that Yuta match with Moxley.
Yeah,
because like it all came screaming back to me when Takeshi kicked that one. I was like, oh. But yeah, where do you want to go now?